This is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com. A little noisy. And I'm 82 years old, been telling my life story and going along. Well, the other day, I got a comment from a person who, in their 70s, and bought an e-trike, and then they realized that it's different than riding an e-bike. They're in their 70s, a little bit disabled, and so I thought, I got to make a video, just a short one, on how to ride an e-trike, because the very first time I got on my e-trike, it just went everywhere crazy. So what I'm doing here is I'm where there's a curb, and I'm going to drive up on the curb and show you how much you can tilt one of these trikes and it will not tip over. Because the person said, and I know the feeling, because I ride one all the time, it feels like you're going to tip over, okay? So I'm going to use the throttle, and looking down at the front here, I'm going to drive up on the curb with my right wheel, my rear wheel, and I'm going to start turning, start tipping, and you can see how much I'm tipped, okay? Now I feel like I'm going to tip over, but you can see it's not tipping over. So it's just, now I'm going to get off, I'm going to set the brake, get off, and take a picture, because the way it works is this 360 camera always wants to level everything out. So I get over here and get a picture, okay? So if you're feeling like your trike is going to tip over, as long as you're not going super fast, if you hit that going fast, it probably will tip over. I'll go ahead and put this down to level. Anyway, it feels like it's going to tip over. The first time I rode my bike, my trike, I had built it on the ramp that goes into my son's shop. And when I came off the ramp, it was a little bit slanted. And first thing it wanted to do was turn. It always wants to turn downhill. And I wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting that, because I've always ridden a bicycle. And they just keep going straight on an incline, but not a trike. So you got two things to remember. Number one, the trike's going to always feel like it's going to tip over. It will if you get beyond 15 degrees. And I put a link to that video where I studied that out. But it will if you get beyond a certain point. And it'll always feel like it's going to tip over, and it'll always want to turn downhill. So you have to just control the handle, okay? So that's enough. That's enough tutorial for now. And I'm going to go ahead and start telling you some parts of my life story. The last time, in the last video, I had gotten a job at a television station, and they liked me really well. And what I did is I go teach school in the morning, and then come home from school, rest up a little bit, and then I would go to the station and get there by 8 o'clock. I'd run the station until midnight, and then I'd go home, go to bed, get ready for the next school day. And that was my life. I worked there for 3 years, and it was a fun job. It was really enjoyable. And so so as it turned out, then during that 3 years, I also went through a divorce, and a year later or so, I got married again, and got married to the beautiful woman I'm married to right now. We've been married 48 years, and it's coming up in July on 49. So anyway, so that's what happened during that 3 years. But also, I bought a sailboat. Now I can't find all the pictures that I have of that sailboat, but here's a picture of me with my brand new outboard motor standing next to my sailboat. And that's the story I can tell you right now. The boat's 23 feet long, or it was. I don't have it anymore. It's 23 feet long, and will sleep 5 people. It has a head and a galley, and the galley is where you cook, and then the head is you had to have a good morning. You had to have a porta potty or something. But anyway, that's how that worked. But you could go camping in it, and it was really kind of cool. Well, just after I got it, it was brand spanking new, and my brother over in Seattle, he brought a friend over to go sailing with me. And so, and we went out to this place to launch the boat called Fishhook Park. That's not too far from Pasco, and it's on the Snake River. And it's a really fancy place. On the weekend, the parking lot's full. And so it was a weekend. And so backed the boat down the ramp and got it all, parked the truck and got it all fixed up. When I bought the boat, I was pinching pennies, and so I really didn't want to spend any more money than necessary on a motor. So I went to Montgomery Ward, if you remember that. I bought a lot of stuff from them. Anyway, and I bought a Sea King. It was 7.5 horse, I think is what it was. And Sea King was not a Mercury like was in the picture that I showed you, okay? It was kind of junky. And so, in fact, one other story, when my wife and I were going to camp one time, and we came up to a beach, and I jumped off the front, and I told her to turn the motor out, or the motor was running. I said, just give it some throttle and move the boat up on the beach. Well, she couldn't turn it. It wouldn't turn. Well, she was turning the wrong way, and she broke the throttle. That's a Sea King outboard. But anyway, so the day that I took my brother out, it just wasn't very windy, and it was pretty calm, and the place was packed. Boats, fancy boats, really nice boats, and not so fancy boats, all tied up at the little docks that they had all over the place there. So we get in the sailboat. We start up the Sea King motor, and we go puttering out into the middle of the Snake River, and was no wind, so we just had to use the motor, and we went down the river a ways. We went downriver. Of course, there's no current that you can speak of because it's dammed up. But anyway, so we went down the river, and then someplace along the way, we decided we'd pull into the shore and explore an island or whatever we were doing. So we pull into the shore, turn the motor off, tie the boat up, get out, fool around, and then we get back in the boat, and we're quite a ways away from Fishhook Park by now. We get back in the boat, push it away from shore, start the motor up, put it in reverse, and back out of our little parking spot. And then we aim upriver to go back to the Fishhook Park. Well, it wouldn't come out of reverse. It was jammed in reverse. And so here we are with this brand new, shiny, 23-foot sailboat going up the river backwards. And that's how we had to motor in to the Fishhook Park with all the fancy boats and everything. We had to do it backwards. And so anyway, it wasn't long after that until I think I gave away that motor, but anyway, and then I got me a Mercury, and I think it was 9 horse, but anyway, it doesn't matter. As you can see the smile on my face, because it was really embarrassing to have to back in like that. I was so proud of my boat. And then there's other stories, like the time that my wife and I went camping at, for Lions Ferry State Park. and I'm putting maps up for these, so you'll see this one. Anyway, that's where the Palouse River runs into the Snake River, and so there's this big, it's like a, what would you call it, lagoon, and because the river, the Palouse River, carries a lot of sediment as it comes into the Snake River, that lagoon, the bottom of the lagoon is all sediment, which, you know, never thought about it. And so we went and we went up to the shore and explored the park, and then we got back in the boat and anchored out in the middle of the lagoon for the night. Well, during the night, a storm came up, and it was I don't know what we got going on here. Anyway, oh, yard work. Anyway, storm came up, and the boat was rocking back and forth, and you know, on the anchor line, it was going back and forth like this. No problem. We just slept through it. Next morning, it's real windy, and my wife had to go to work that day, so we needed to get out of there and get home, and so got all this. I decided I'd try to sail out of there, which was a disaster. But anyway, I just, you know, knew it, sailing my boat. If you remember from previous videos, I learned how to sail hanging around with my twin brother friends, and I got the bug. So so I got up on the bow and started pulling the anchor in, and the wind was blowing. Well, the boat, of course, was headed into the wind. So I start pulling the anchor in. It does not want to come in. It just won't come in. And so I pull and I pull. Back then I was in good shape. And so I started pulling, and as the finally got enough line pulled up, I could see that it had the kind of anchor that we had just dug itself in, and that was good. That's how you make sure you got a good anchorage. But it dug itself deeper and deeper into the silt overnight. And so it took me at least a half an hour of pulling that rope up, and of course the rope was all muddy when it came up because it was under the silt all night. And so I got the anchor up, I put it on the bow, and I didn't even wind up the rope. It was all muddy and everything. I just carried it all back and put it in the cab. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to try to sail out of here, which means you have to tack back and forth and back and forth. And that's a real narrow channel. So that was a disaster. We almost ruined the boat against the rock wall that's there. And so finally I gave up and just motored back into the lagoon, took the sails down, and we motored on up the river. And then we found a place. We were so worn out and tired from fighting, almost wrecking the boat. We were so worn out and tired that we found a little cove across the river from Ayers, Ayers or something like that. We found a little cove and we anchored there. And we were both so tired. And by the way, when we were fighting the storm trying to tack, the boat got leaned over clear on its side and the sail hit the water. But that was what they call a self-righting boat. In the meantime, the little refrigerator that we had tipped over from where it was, because it was just sitting on a shelf, and it had a gallon of milk in it. And I remember looking, this was before plastic gallons. I remember looking as I was trying to control the boat and get it back on from being on its side. I remember looking up, and the wall of the boat was horizontal, and the milk was spilling out of that quart or that gallon container. And so, as you can imagine, we were both exhausted by the time we got up to that little place to anchor. And so So we pulled in there because we were just tired. We anchored the boat, and I think they didn't have cell phones back then, so I don't remember what the situation was. But we slept from whatever time it was until 11 o'clock in the morning, and we woke up. And of course, the inside of the boat was a mess, and I mean, it was everything was a mess. So we by that time the storm had died a little bit, so I think we just motored on home, and that was when we had the Sea King. And so after we got the Mercury, we didn't have any problems. We did have some sailing excitement, but anyway, so that's what happened during that 3 years that I worked for the TV station. Went through divorce, got married, bought a sailboat, and so that's a section of my life. That was back in the mid 70s, by the way. And so anyway, let's see. I guess that's about all I can say. So I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.